Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Rolka. Thank you for checking out my video. This is a vocal analysis video. I believe it's the third one in the series thus far, where I solicit submissions and then go through my analysis of the video here on YouTube. This is Mr. Greg Brenton singing Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. Before we dive into it, I would like to point out a couple aspects of his performance just so that you can tuck it away, keep it in mind as you watch and listen throughout the duration of his performance. Notice the competency of the guitar playing. He is doing such a great job. And in particular, he's doing something that I think we don't necessarily talk about enough, which is that when he's not singing, he makes it a little bit fancier. And when he is singing, he makes it really manageable so that he can focus entirely on his singing. Now, I don't know Greg personally, nor in a professional capacity. I'm not his coach or anything like that. I don't know if he's doing that consciously, but either way, it's great, and it's what I would suggest one do anyway. His time and pulse is really quite excellent as well, so you get a vibe and a feeling of inevitability as you make your way through the song. It gives it motion in a kind of fundamental way that means that we feel this forward momentum while he plays and sings on top of that pulse. It's a very effective way to deliver a song. You will notice Greg looking off to his right throughout the duration of the video. He has framed his shot beautifully, so you'll see that it's a really cool looking setting with lots of audio gear, and he is nicely centered and well lit. But you're going to get your best performance when you do memorize the materials. Now, you'll notice the title there says it's an excerpt, so he may have just been using a sheet to remind himself of the form for the excerpt. But in general, if you want to put your absolute best foot forward, do work on your memorization. Make sure you've got things memorized and you don't need any kind of sheets of things like that. That being said, that's a really minor issue and he navigates the song expertly. Let's get into it.
Hi Jeff, my name's Greg. I'm working on Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me by Elton John. Here goes. I can't lie, no more of your darkness. All my pictures seem to fade to black and white. I'm growing tired, and time stands still before me. Frozen here on the ladder of my life.
I'm going to pause here for just a moment. By now, hopefully you've noticed how he does fancy it up a little bit when he's not singing and then gets into a nice deliberate strum pattern when he is singing. This lets him really focus on his voice, deliver his best. Here, as we get ready to kind of move on into the next segment of the tune, I wanted a little bit more drama from the dynamics of his voice right there on that phrase. Let me back up a moment here.
On the ladder of my life.
On the ladder of my life. You know, you have this lyric of ladder going up on the ladder there. The melodic phrase is ascending. I wanted to hear just a little bit more lift from the volume there. The rule of thumb around this for the vocal world is to make the high note of the phrase the loudest one in that given phrase. So here he's ascending from A to D. back down to the B natural there. I just wanted to hear a little bit more dynamic lift moving us on as we go into the tune here.
Too late to save myself from falling.
Love the way you throw that riff off. It sounds so cool. It sounds very effortless, very extemporaneous, which to me, that's how I want those kinds of elements to sound in the song. I want it to sound as if you're not thinking about it or it was unprepared, that it was just a sort of a way of moving through that little passage there, that you were, sort of motivated by the muse. And you do that beautifully there. It sounds just lovely. I love it.
I took a chance and change your way of life.
Okay, now that phrase right there is difficult for a variety of different reasons. Change your way of life. I sang it down an octave, and that's the way that I would recommend we start practicing those kinds of phrases. For most male vocalists, those notes, which are F, F, E, F, D, are almost certainly right on or right next to the secondo passaggio. And you've got CH sounds in there, you've got G sounds, the W is okay, the L is okay. The vowels are A, change your way of life. Those are pretty favorable vowels, but you have to be able to do a tonal onset effectively right next to or on top of the secondo passaggio. And you've got to be able to re-articulate that same note a couple of times while making sure that the airflow remains consistent over the vocal folds so that you don't get that little bit of a hitch there that you hear in his performance here. So the practice for this, there's a lot of steps. I don't think that in Greg's case he needs to necessarily go through them all, but the first step would be learn the phrase an octave lower, change your way of life, and work on how you are navigating the consonant material. So ch, that CH, change your way. It's going to become a little bit of a sh sound there to make sure that we can keep the air flowing over the vocal fold. We want to avoid any hard stops to the airflow as much as we possibly can. From there, you might work on to the solid vowels. E, then the vowels from the phrase. A, I, change your way of life. And once you can really smoothly sing that down the octave, you might then have to start working it in keys approaching the performance key. Now, again, I don't think Greg necessarily needs to go through all of these different steps, but when we encounter a phrase like this, from A to finish would start there. Next, you might come in, change your way of life, 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 until you get back to your performance key. It's entirely plausible that you might have to go through each of the other steps that I went through before, maybe even adding others like the lip trill or straw phonation if you like, to get started in the performance key, and then working your way through a solid vowel, the vowels from the phrase, and then finally the lyrics. Additionally, you might even have to practice a little bit of how you're modifying the consonants, how you are attenuating the consonant content in that range of your voice so that you can connect through all of those repetitive pitches and ultimately then finish the phrase. Let's keep going.
But you misread my meaning when I meant
And this is interesting. He does this throughout the piece. Let me back up a little bit. Notice, so you have two phrases back to back. Notice how he finishes the first phrase, and then notice how he finishes the second phrase. And we're specifically listening to the very ends of the phrases here. So let me find our spot. I think it's about here.
But you misread.
Let's back up a little bit more.
But you misread.
It goes down.
My meaning when I met you.
And then he maintains his pitch quite nicely until his voice stops producing sound and then gets into the rest there. This happens on just about every phrase. The first of the two phrases will have a kind of fall off of pitch. But you misread my meaning when I met you. And a nice clean release there. Here's the thing. I don't know Greg personally. I do not work with him. If we were working together, I would draw his attention to the fact that each of those phrases are done that way. Now, it may be that Elton John does it like that, and that's where Greg is picking this up from. I don't know that either because I haven't gone back and listened to Elton John sing this. I wanted to listen to just Greg and think about just how Greg is doing this tune. So that may be historically the way it's done. Even if it were, I would suggest reconsidering it as a performance practice, because those fall-offs have the tendency of defraying some of the energy, some of the sort of forward momentum of the tune. And here we haven't quite gotten to our chorus yet. As a performer, if I were performing this tune, I would want to be continually building engagement and excitement moving towards that chorus. So I might choose to do a few of those fall-offs, but I don't know that I would do them just like that for each of those phrases. First phrase, boo. Second phrase, stable. Next phrase, boo. Next phrase, stable. It's something that caught my ear almost immediately when I started listening to the tune to think about what I wanted to talk about, how I could help. I would look at that carefully and be discerning with how you use those little fall-offs there. But as I was mentioning, the ends of phrases, the second of each of those phrases, he maintains pitch until he stops singing quite effectively. So I tend to think that this is a conscious choice. I would just consider it carefully.
Close the door and leave me blind by the light.
Oh, right, I wanted to do this too. Come back here.
Close the door, you. But you misread my meaning when I made.
So let's take another look at this phrase right here.
But you misread.
Specifically right here.
My meaning when I made you.
My meaning. I believe that those are the pitches that the melody has. What's interesting here is that the middle pitch there is a little bit uncertain, and quite frankly, I can understand why. It is a bit of an unusual interval for us in our vocalizations. We don't cover it that frequently. It's not part of what we generally use for vocalizations. It is a major sixth. And then it moves on to the G natural above it. It bears listening and noticing those things and then working those intervals as they come up in your repertoire. So going back, if it were, no, I don't think that Greg is having a ton of difficulty with the range on this. If he were, my first suggestion would be to do the interval in reverse. So you would do or even just you get to know physically what those pitches feel like to sing, and then you reverse it, making sure that you're light enough on the bottom so that you can have the energy to then adopt that physical energy for the E and the G above it. Really get it into your ear where that major sixth is, so that in the context of the song, you come right out and display that interval, as opposed to it being a little bit funny in there.
Close the door and leave me blind by the light. Don't let the sun go down on me.
Be careful on descending phrases that sun, especially when you're descending from above the secondo passaggio or near the secondo passaggio and then descending down past it. It's easy to go a little bit under the pitch there. I can't play and sing along with Greg because his guitar is tuned ever so slightly different from my piano, which admittedly needs to be tuned right now, and it's holding it together all right today, but definitely needs to have that done. But as a vocalist, when we're singing those descending lines, keep lifting as you sing the pitches downwards so that you don't get underneath them. It's not by much. I admit I am being super picky, but I think Greg's performance is really quite good, and it allows me the luxury of listening to it with that kind of acuity. So hats off to you. Let's keep going.
Although I search myself, it's always someone else I see. I'm just another fragment of your life, to wander free. 'Cause losing everything is like the sun going down on me.
Thanks.
You are very welcome. Thank you for sending in a great performance. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the opportunity to listen to what's going on and hopefully help shed some light on what I'm hearing and, provide some points to consider as you continue to work on your craft. Thank you again, Greg. Thank you, all of you, for listening. Again, if you would like to have me analyze some of your singing, videos, etc., join Patreon at any level, and when I put out the call, submit your wares, and we'll go from there. Thank you again so much for being here. My name is Jeff. Take really good care of your voices, enjoy singing, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.